Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Vincent Gasa once more on Ponder. And today we're going to be talking about choices. Choices. Wherever you are in the world today, I hope it's very beautiful weather. It's a little cold here, but it's a wonderful evening, I guess. And I hope it's a good time to talk about our topic today, choices. We're going to be talking about choices. And now, actually, this reflection of mine, if I should say so, or this thought came to my mind after reading something from the Bible, from the scriptures. And I was meditating on the first book of Kings, chapter 18, verses 21. And there was an interesting line there. Now, there's this story in the Bible of the prophet Elijah, and he comes before the people. He calls all the people of Israel together, and he stands before them and he tells them, he asks them a question: why are you limping between two options? Why are you hesitating between two choices? If Baal is God, then serve him. But if the Lord God is God, then serve him. So basically, he was telling these people that do not alternate between two gods, so to speak. Choose one and serve that person, whatever is better for you. And that resonated with me so much because I understand that in today's world there's an abundance of choices, and it's so difficult to make a choice. It's really difficult. So let's get right in. Choices are really important, and the first thing to ask ourselves is, why is it difficult? Why is it so difficult for many of us to make a choice, for many of us to take a stance? And one of the reasons is that making a choice involves making especially a choice that has long-term effects on our lives becomes difficult because one sometimes instinctively understands the sacrifices that have to be made in order for that choice to be made. For example, many people may have tried to learn an instrument. Imagine making the decision, the choice to learn the piano. That is a very beautiful instrument, an interesting instrument, but it's not easy to learn, not very easy. So when one just thinks of, okay, I have to learn the piano, and for that to happen, it means I may have to sacrifice, let's say, 2 hours of my days, 2 hours of my day every day, from Monday to Sunday, just practicing over maybe 5 years or so, or 3 years, I don't know. When you think of that, you just think of all the fun you're going to lose on Saturday, the fact that you're not going to be able to maybe go to the nightclub on Friday, and just thinking of all these sacrifices, it sends a shudder down one's spine. It just sends fear into you. And then when you just project that image from your mind, in your mind's eye, just project and be like, okay, no, I don't think I can do this. Or imagine that we have to get, let's say, a car or something, and you're working, of course, but then you know that in order to get this thing, I would have to get a driver's license, which is going to cost me some amount of money. I'm going to have to get a car itself and stuff like that. And when you project and calculate all of the costs, you see that you may have to save for about 5 to 6 months and have to kind of live below your means. And once you think of that, you're like, no, I'm going to do that later. When I have more money, I'm going to do that. So things like this are some of the resistances which one faces when making a choice. And it's interesting because it tells us that the problem is not that we don't know what to do, but that we understand perfectly what needs to be done. Sometimes we are scared of losing friends, we are scared of losing people, we are scared of losing a particular position if we take a particular stance on a particular subject. Have you been there? Can you understand what I'm talking about? That's what I'm talking about. I know we've all been there. However, choices must be made. Because when we don't make choices, what happens? What are the effects of not making a choice? The thing that happens is that we allow ourselves, we submit ourselves to circumstances. Mind you, whether or not you actively make a choice, whether or not you make that decision, you have already made a decision. So if one decides, I'm not going to make this choice today, or I'm not going to make a choice to do something or to take a particular stance, no problem. I'm going to just see how things go. Let time tell, no problem. That in itself is a choice. So choosing not to make a choice is also a choice. But the difference is, this choice is abandoning oneself to the winds of circumstance. And oh boy, you might not be ready for where these winds are going to carry you. Imagine the wind blowing the leaves of a tree. The leaves do not know where they are going to land. That is the problem with not making a choice. Another thing that prevents us from making choices, fear of failure. Of course, we are all afraid to fail. It's not easy when you think of the fact that I'm going to put in all my efforts, this much effort, so much effort, and yet at the end fail. Is it worth it? No. Then fear comes in, fear sets in. But I want to tell you today, my friends, to not be afraid. For we shouldn't fear failure. Someone once said, I think it's Mark Cuban, he said this, that you only need to succeed once. And that has stuck with me. You only need to succeed once. Interesting, isn't it? And if you think of it, it's actually true. If you're going to take an examination, you might fail the first attempt, the second. But once you succeed, that's it, you're done. You move to the next step. If there's a project, one might fail at a project. Try another project. But when one succeeds, that's it. If it's a business, when you start the business, it might not go well, some steps might fail. But once we succeed, that's it. So the irony is, life gives us the chance, not always, but then we have the chance, the opportunity to fail many more times. So you can fail more times, but you only need to succeed once. And once you've succeeded once, people start calling it a success. So do not be afraid of failure. If one has a setback the first time, there's a reason it's called a setback. It pushes one backward. When one falls, there are two things that happen. One can learn from the process, or one can give up and remain kneeling on the ground. But then when one learns from that process, when one does not give up, when one stands up, picks themselves up again, then they are not a failure. So even if we fail over and over, we are not a failure. The only time when one actually becomes a failure is when one fails and remains there. When we decide to stand up and fight, it doesn't guarantee success. But one thing it does guarantee is an opportunity to succeed. However, when one stumbles, when one falls, when one fails, if one remains in that spot, if one does not stand up again, then one has truly failed. Because when one remains on the ground, then it means that there is no opportunity for change. Nothing else can be done. When I refuse to stand up, nothing else can be done. Then I have truly failed. So we should not be afraid of making choices because of fear of failure, for we only need to succeed once. Choices are really important. When we make a choice, we either fail or learn. And when we do fail, and whatever be the case, be it having a setback or learning from the process, there's progress that has been made. Because once you fail, or want to take a step to make a particular choice, then that's a step forward. That's progress. So even if one makes that step forward, and that step does not yield fruit, progress has been made. So even when there's a setback, there's progress that has been made because a step was taken forward. So one may fail, or one could succeed. But in both cases, when one makes a choice, then one is making progress. But when one refuses to make a choice, when choice does not steer the ship of our lives, if our lives are not, the ships of our lives are not steered, directed by choice, then one abandons oneself to the sea winds, the raging winds of circumstance. And when the ship of choice when choice doesn't steer the ship of our lives, when the ship of our lives is abandoned to these raging sea winds of circumstance, the only possible end result is an unavoidable shipwreck. Whatever the choices may be, good or bad, we either learn or we succeed. But in either case, progress is made, growth is made. So my dear friends, do not be afraid of making choices. That choice that has been on your mind, those things that have been disturbing you, take that step forward. Take that leap of faith. For until you do, you will never know. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Leave your comments in the comment section. If there's anyone who has anything to add, would like a discussion, for example, leave that in the comment section. You can follow me and like the video and follow me on Instagram. But the Instagram link is going to be in my description, the description to this video. Have a good evening. Take care. See you. Bye.